actually thinking the other day about the weird conspiracy theories and stuff. Like, we mentioned the one, you believe in the moon. You believe in the moon, saying the moon is just a projection put on the sky by all the combined governments. And they do that because that's an excuse for the tides. They've got their undersea labs that they're bringing, putting more stuff in, taking stuff out all the time. It's raising the levels of the ocean around the world. And I was explaining this to somebody, and they said, "Oh, what about solar eclipses then? Or what about the waxing and waning moon?" I said, "Well, the waxing and waning moon, that's just, they just put a piece of paper on the lens just to give some impression of it not being just some stationary object. But eclipses, they're a lot harder to do. The reason eclipses happen, and it's so rare for them to happen, is that it's the light bulb in the projector that burns out. So what they have to do is they know that the light bulb is going to burn out, so they say, "Oh, hey, everyone, yeah, look, at the sky there's going to be this spectacular thing. It's this thing that happens that's really special," and it's, they make up excuse for it, so that people aren't surprised when they do the switch over from one lens to another. And because the lens is so big and so bulky, they can't just take it out and put it back in, because that would take way too long and that would be suspicious. So what they do is they've got two machines, and they have one dormant until the other one's light bulb is about to burn out. And then come time for the eclipse, they sort of they put the cover over, switch it off, switch on the other one, then take the cover off. You know how that works? It's a really interesting theory that I've come up with, and there is, as you can see, there's loads of evidence to corroborate it. Eclipses, tides, the fact the moon is there. We don't actually have any proof that anyone's walked up there or anyone's even gone up there. People they shoot the rockets up in the sky.
Why do we need tides though? Waves or?
Well, no, we don't need the tides. The tides just happen because the governments are taking things in and out of the water and displacing the water. Yeah. And sometimes, when you put something in water, the water moves. That's what creates the waves. There are some places that have really big waves, like Hawaii. That's because America, they've got a base very close to there. And there's some places like Europe, they don't have that big, they don't have great beaches there. But there's a lot of waves in the in English Channel. And that's where England and France have a combined base. And their alliance in that combined base is so strong that way back in sort of early Dark Ages, medieval times, France and England were at war, but their governments have come to a very strong alliance, so strong over such secret stuff that they can't tell anyone about it, so they have to keep up this facade of the fake hatred, It's the same with Australia and New Zealand, or the USA and Canada, No, not Canada. There's sort of one between USA and Canada. There's an even bigger one between USA and Mexico. And there's actually a lot of stuff that the USA and Mexico are working on together at the moment. And that's why Donald Trump is going so hard to try and distract away from that. It's like, no, we don't like them at all. but behind closed doors, they're like that, you know? It's really funny how all this stuff fits together, and it's just, I'm not 100% sure of what they're doing. It's probably just a mix of all the conspiracy theories come together that they're all doing. Probably not the lizard people, because the lizard people, the ones that we know of, they're not that fond of water, and so they'd be underground. That's why they sort of stick to the deserts, large countries. Why do you think the middle of Australia isn't populated?
The desert.
Exactly. Yeah, they're all there.
Yeah.
They've made the middle of Australia so dry and arid that nothing can live there, so that they've got a place to live. And that's actually been worked on by all the combined governments in the NWO. They thought, okay, look, we need to do this, we need this land, we're sorry, but look, here's this place, you can go over here, take this whole space in the middle of Australia. Like, all us surface people, we just want to live around the coast of Australia. That's why something like 95% of the Australian population is by the coast. And although we are growing in population, we may come into conflict with them in the next few decades, because we are expanding inwards, and it's quite difficult. What else was there? Oh yeah, the other conspiracy theories. What have I got on? The NWO, that's happened. That's just the Illuminati, Freemasons. I'm so amazed at how brazen the Freemasons are, because they're basically the top guy for the Illuminati, but they have their public buildings. It's probably because these top guys, they're so sure that they won't get caught, and well, they're also such important people that they can't hide that they are part of this secret club. So they have to say, oh look, yeah, we are part of the secret club, it's just this slightly smaller one, that I promise there's nothing else there, but there is. They are the ones in charge of everything. They're in charge of the Illuminati, they're in charge of the NWO. There is no decision that goes on in any government that isn't decided upon and approved by the Freemasons. It's really, all the information's there if you go in depth into it. It really is. And gosh, I had another one, I've forgotten what it was. All those other conspiracy theories. Can you think of any off the top of your head? I can tell you how the Illuminati and Freemasons have worked it all together.
Okay. What about Skull and Bones?
The Skull and Bones. Well, they're just the same thing. They're just another subsection of Illuminati. And I just thought the what's it called? The not crocodiles thing. Chemtrails. That's it. The chemtrails. Do you know? You've seen the chemtrails go through the sky. The planes that drop those don't. If you follow them, they don't actually land at any airport. They are one of the many things that come from the undersea bases. They fly out to sea, then land there, so they can refuel, and that's why the chemtrails have the appearance of clouds, because with the mix of chemicals they have in there, they don't have much fresh water to mix it up with, so they use seawater. So that seawater from the sea that's surrounding them, they take that, mix it all up, and that's up in the sky. That's why if you ever see a chemtrail and it starts raining in the next 12 hours, you'll taste that the rain is just a little bit salty. It's really interesting. I've tried it out myself. It's and yeah, these chemtrails. They say people think, oh yeah, it's just skywriting. Somebody's just paid to write an ad or a love note in the sky. It's not. Those written messages in the sky, not only are they codes, which I will get to later, but they are for when the sort of the chemicals that they normally dose us with. It's when we've dropped off a bit, like after a bunch of heavy weather that they can't get through. So they have to go, oh yeah, here's this big dose, and it really hits you all at once. That's why when people see it, they're like, oh, that's the chemicals hitting them, to fill them with dopamine and make sure that and suppress the population from arguing with the government. Because they think that, oh, we've got this going for us, we're doing okay. You understand how that works? And the codes that work, they're for all of the, excuse me. Sorry, I think there might be one just going overhead now. I get really coffee when there's the chemtrails going overhead. It's really, that's how I know how it works when it's happening. Because I don't cough at all. But whenever I see one of those planes going over, I just can't stop coughing. It's been really hard to hide, especially when there's like police around. Because if the police are around and they see, they know, they've been given all this information like, oh yeah, we're running this, this and this today. If people react in these specific ways, they know and you need to take them in. I've seen it, my friend, like he had a coughing fit when some planes went by and he didn't even know what I had told him. He had just started coughing because he had a cold. But the cops came on, they took him away. They said that he was bothering people by coughing on them. And when he came back, he hasn't coughed since. So they've given him something that's just... Anyway, the codes that they write in the sky, I haven't cracked exactly what they say yet, but I am working on it. I've got books full of it, so writing down everything I see. I think it might be like sort of little bits of a message at a time that you could... This skywriting is all around the world, isn't it?
At least in developed countries.
Yeah. It's not just... Oh God, I just had a thought. The skywriting code, the reason I haven't been able to crack it is because I've just been looking at Sydney skywriting.
Yeah.
It's what it is, and I bet you this is what it is. It's all of the skywriting from all around the world, every message, sequentially. If you lay that out, there's a secret message hidden in there somewhere. I'm going to be so excited to look that up. Okay, that's good. Oh, I'm actually getting somewhere with these. It's great. But then, yeah. What else?
What about that gay frog thing?
What's that?
The gay frog thing?
The gay frogs. Oh, yeah, that's the fluoride they're putting in the water. Alex Jones did a piece about it, but
that's where it became famous.
Yeah. He's done a lot of research on it, and he's a very credible source. Unfortunately, he's become the source of ridicule by a lot of people, and a lot of really high up people to try and discredit him. And
he's been labelled like the king of memes or something like that.
And well, what's happened is where he lives, they've jacked up the prices for everything, for gas, water, rent, everything like that. So
Was it Austin or Dallas or somewhere in Texas?
Somewhere in Texas, but they've jacked up all the prices so that he has to pay more for everything. So what he needs to do for his show, he needs to get ads for his show. And the only people, and the government is feeding him, feeding him people that he can advertise. You're feeding him money to advertise things, and the things that he's advertising are intentionally made by the government to be as outlandish and ridiculous as possible, to keep discrediting him. You know, he doesn't believe what he's saying when he's advertising. Oh, have this super duper pill, it'll make you get shredded in 2.5 weeks. But he doesn't believe that. He says, oh yeah, I tried it, here's me before and after. And the before and after pictures is just like him before looking like him and him after looking a little less red. You know, that's him trying to show that he doesn't believe it and he's being forced to do it because of the rent problem. But yeah, anyway, the gay frogs. So he did a piece about fluoride and other chemicals in the water, and there's so-called scientists put out research papers saying, oh yes, fluoride and this, we put it in the water so that you have good teeth. What does drinking water have to do with having nice teeth, you know? If you've got crooked teeth, water doesn't fix it. If you're having cold water, you've got sensitive teeth, that just makes it worse. What it does, it suppresses the violent tendencies in human beings so that we don't uprise against the government. And humans, way back, all of human history, we are extremely violent people. Like, we used to behead people and crucifixions, skinning people alive, torture acts, the bloody Iron Maiden, all sorts of torture devices. And we've been given this fluoride in the water to make us dull. And the reason Alex Jones started talking about the gay frogs is what happens with this fluoride is because frogs are naturally docile creatures, this chemical in the water turns that back even more from being violent, coming back all the way to the other side to make them gay. So that, you know, because in human sex there's something a little bit harsh about male and female intercourse, but male and male, they're, you know how they are, they are limp-wristed, as they say. Personally, this actually happens in humans as well. People that are been sort of in the developed world for longer, they've been on this fluoride so much that their violent tendencies have come way back and they're gay, and that's how that happens. And excuse me. Yeah, so that's what happens to the frogs, is they're naturally docile. And
so I know in some medical journals they label homosexuality as a disease or something, or
I wouldn't call it a disease as such, because you can't really capture. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an expert, but I'm not sure what the definitions of these words are. No, I'm just. I don't know everything.
I know like HIV is so hard to cure because they got it from monkeys. So they think it's that animal crossover, whatever.
Well, it could be that.
You know what I mean? Like that's.
Yeah.
You know, got transition into people.
And that's actually monkeys naturally have HIV, and back in whatever the 80s and 90s, whenever HIV first came into prevalence, the government was thinking, we've got all these gay people, and they're really causing trouble for us because they've become so peaceful that they don't want us to do these violent things to help them, like to help them stay and have the perfect life that they have. So they've gotten this HIV from the monkeys, and they've given it to a bunch of homosexuals that they've kidnapped, and given it to them, and then released them without their knowledge of what they had to the wider community.
Yeah.
So that's how that spread. It's all the government.
Yeah, there's also that AZA conspiracy. I got injected with HIV and died like 2 weeks later. So the thing, yeah.
It's, that's actually the case with most sexually transmitted diseases. Which, have you heard they've actually changed the name of, they're not STDs, they're STIs, or sexually transmitted infections.
Okay, yeah.
I guess because disease sounds too harsh. And I think the reason they did that was because the what's happened with the gay people, they were giving them HIV, we've given them all this. The straight people have now started to really resent the gays, and that's caused just a little bit of violence to be awakened in them. And the government thinks, oh God, no, we don't want more violence, we need less of that. So they tried increasing the sort of the docile chemical in the water, the fluoride, and that's made the frogs gay, made more people gay, but that didn't stop the other people disliking the gays. So, I forgot where I was going. What was I talking about? I've lost it.
So, do you know, what about calendars and stuff? Do you know anything about the calendars?
The calendars, ooh. Well, the calendars are...
Because there's the two major ones, the Christian calendar, the Chinese one.
I'm not sure about the Christian calendar, but the Chinese calendar, it's something I call myself a minor expert on. You know, it's based on all the different animals over the years and whatnot. And they say it's based on these star signs or whatever, but there's no... The stars bullshit. They the government has set up these animals and these characteristics for these animals for every year. Let's say, like, oh, this is the year of the rat, this means this, and this will happen. And that's what they will cause to happen. That's their plans for the next years and years and years. And let's say, okay, so like rat, dog, bull, those are just code names for their NWO yearly plans. It's like they have a board meeting every 10 years. Like, okay, so we've got this on the agenda, this, and this. And so Operation Rat is go. And it's in the year of the rat, there were a lot of sort of underhanded dealings that were going on that were made public, which were intentionally made public, because they were underhanded dealings of people that were maybe talking a little bit too much, or just doing something not quite right. Maybe there was one that was, he was about to be discovered as being part of the NWO, so they disowned him. Another one, he was really good at being sort of undercover and being secretive, and they showed some underhanded dealings with him over a completely unrelated topic, so that people would equate that unrelated topic with that guy rather than what he's actually doing. And that has actually worked really well for him, and that's why everybody loves Obama so much.
Obama, yeah.
Yeah, it was him. he's actually one of the top guys. Him and Trump, best mates. They just can't show it. That's why there's a two-party system in America, and can't get here, but in America, it's because they need to have the polar opposites to argue against each other, so that everyone else will just sort of stay in the middle and just sort of be happy. Like, oh yeah, I've got a bit of this, bit of that. And on the other hand, some of it isn't working, because some of the people some people actually believe that wild end of the spectrum, and while some of them are also undercover and are being paid to pretend to be so wildly left or so wildly right, but other people, there's something just sort of clicks in their brain, it just snaps in their brain. They think, oh yes, I agree with this, and they're not generally the smartest people. It's generally stupid people have the loudest voices. Do you know what I mean? It's not like me. Quiet guy, quiet voice. And that's how I've managed to stay hidden for the most part.
It's like Henry Wang saying that happiness in intelligent people is the rarest thing.
I'd say so, yes. It's very easy to be stupid and happy.
Yeah.
It's
like, it was like ignorance bliss or something, or
yeah, exactly. And that's why there's nothing blissful about my life at all, because I'm not ignorant. And in fact, and this is a term that's actually been taken from us, the people that are woke. And we are trying to not be sheep, and the government has tried to take that from us. They've hired people to make outlandish claims and say, oh, stay woke people. They're taking that word from us to try and discredit us. They're trying to make me look stupid. And that's just unacceptable. But at this moment, there's nothing quite yet that I can do about it. Well, I'm hoping that eventually I will be close to making some sort of breakthrough that proves, well, I've already got proof, but I need to find a way to reverse the chemicals that have been put in the water and everything, so that I can gain followers and get people to believe the truth.
Whenever you're ready, just talk about it. Whatever.
You told me we can keep going with conspiracies.
You can talk about conspiracies if you want, but just talk as much as you want, right?
God, my back. Oh, okay. And that's the truth. And I need to get people behind me what I need is an army of people to support me and help take over the governments, sort of one small government at a time. I'm thinking actually of moving to Africa, because cut that. I was going to say something really bad.
Keep going.
Come back. I was actually thinking of moving to England, because people there are already getting really riled up, and I think that. See, I'm already putting on the English accent. I think that there's something or somebody there that has the same mind as me that's put something else in the water to help undo what's being done. And I need to meet that person, and because I've got a lot of ideas, and I've got some ideas on what could help reverse it, but I haven't figured out on how to make it water soluble and make it big enough to get into the water system to get an entire country. But this guy, he seems to have had something that can start the process and make it water soluble and be able to make enough of it to go through at least 30% of England, which isn't a massive country, but it's big enough. Have you ever been to England? It's a very, very densely packed country. There is a lot of countryside, a lot of...
Yeah, they're joking about London's becoming a giant car park.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
And even when you... I went up north to near Wigan, near Manchester, and I was going from sort of village to village, and here in Australia, if you outside of Sydney, if you want to go to a different town, that's 3 hours away. When I was in Wigan, I said, okay, let's just go to the next village over. We literally went through a roundabout, and like, oh, we're here now. And so, basically what I'm getting at is, going to England, it's going to be quite a bit easier to spread this solution in the water. You like that? The solution? It's the solution and the solution to our problems.
I've heard theories that Hitler was against the New World Order. That's where he started out. Yeah.
I think that's a pretty dicey topic.
Yeah.
And I think there's some things that I could say, but if I do say them, that there are ears everywhere, and I might actually get into a lot of trouble for saying them. So I'm not going to say those, because as safe as I feel here, there are safer places that I know to discuss.
What about education and stuff?
Education, I think you mean indoctrination. That's all that happens in schools anymore. That's why in the last I missed a year of school. I missed practically 2 years of school. I got kicked out of a few schools just because I had different ideas from what the teachers said. And I was there, I was reading lots of things, and the other kids who I assume were told by the teachers, hey, this kid, he's not doing what he's supposed to, you need to go put a stop to that. So they tried to put a stop to it, but I kept doing it. And the schools that I went to, they didn't like that. They tried to do something else. There's one of the schools I went to, this is a true story. We had an art class, and we were told to draw a sort of, I think it was like the topic was like a well-known person, and this was before high school, like year 4, year 5, and everyone in the class like, oh yeah, we'll just draw the art teacher, and I thought, no, I don't want to do that, but I'd also been reading a lot of history books, and so I'd gotten up to the part of sort of pre-World War II. And one of the historical figures I was reading about was Kaiser Wilhelm. You know him? He's actually genetically related to the current Queen of England. So that's a whole different thing. But anyway. So I thought, okay, I'll draw him. And some of the main characteristics of him that I drew were sort of the helmet with the spike on top, big handlebar moustache, sort of military regalia, and this kid saw what I was drawing, and he reported to the teacher, and him and the teacher both said, oh, you're drawing Hitler, you can't do that. And I said, no, it's not him, and they didn't care anyway, so they suspended me until they could figure out an actual reason and an actual punishment for me for what they had perceived that I'd done. And that's set off a lot of gears in my head. Sort of, actually no, that created gears in my head that remained dormant until sort of 18, 19-ish, when I started becoming awake, when I awoke. And those gears started turning, and they clicked, and they clicked, and they clicked, with a bunch of other gears that had been set in my head from a very, very young age. And all of these gears stuck in my head, grinding away. And there's some of them that are just sort of spinning there. There's an idea that I got from somewhere, and it's something. It was like the chemtrails, the messages in the sky. I had that idea that there was a code there, and that gear was just spinning and spinning and spinning, and I just had that idea. The messages are all around the world. That's suddenly just another gear in there. So that's now 2 gears working together. And I just need to work on making more gears for myself to make this machine work smoothly. And sometimes I come up with a concept that contradicts something else. And I can't think of any at the moment because what happens is, when I've got an idea, the gear keeps spinning. But if another idea contradicts that, those gears come together and they just jam up, and I can't get anything done with them. So what I need to do is I need to take those gears out, study them and look at them and see how I can fit them together. You know? That's a core principle of how gears work. It's actually, the Swiss actually very good at making gears. I'm getting something with the Swiss. They're neutral. The Swiss Guard. You know about the Swiss Guard, Guardians of the Pope? Yeah. In Switzerland, which I'm actually a citizen of, there is mandatory conscription. You need to do army service, and up until recently, you were given a gun that you had to keep in your home. And recently they did say that is voluntary, so you don't have to do that. But yes, anyway, I am a Swiss citizen, and I had to go to the Swiss embassy and say, hey, look, I don't speak any of your languages, therefore I can't do the conscription. And I think the reason they don't allow English speakers, like pure English speakers in, is because English speakers, we are some of the most enlightened people around the world, and if they let us in, we will pick holes in what they're doing and mess things up for them. So I would learn another language so that I could join them, but there's 2 things. One, my brain is so full of so many other things and so many other ideas, and it would just be too time consuming and too difficult to learn another language. And 2, I am sure that there are certain cadences and sounds and all sorts of little things in other foreign languages that unlock secret codes in the brain that are set up from childhood, from watching TV and everything. They unlock that and make people more obedient. And that's because a lot of other languages are more fluid in how they work. You know, like Italian. You know, have you heard an Italian speak? There's a rhythm to it. And what other languages are there that I can do without possibly offending people? is Spanish. Did you know that there's a difference between Spanish and Mexican Spanish?
Yeah.
The difference is the lith.
Yeah.
In Spain, they say Barcelona, and in the history books, the reason for that is there was a king who had a lisp, and he spoke like this, and he said, okay, this, and this, and he was so strict and such a ruler that his people, that he changed the language so much because people were so scared of him. They changed the language that, like, he said, okay, this town is called Barcelona, and nobody would ever say, no sir, it's Barcelona. Nobody would ever say that. I think I heard a story, one guy said that, and then he was diced. Like, literally diced up. I saw a painting of it. It's horrific stuff, honestly. But that was back when we didn't have the fluoride in the water and people were more violent. But anyway, I think the actuality of the situation is the certain lisp. It's not a harsh sound, it's a soft sound. So it keeps people's brains in a softer scenario in their heads. Like, oh, it's not it's, you know, so it's yet another thing to keep us docile and to try and stop us from rebelling. And really that's what it all comes down to. It's just all of these higher up people wanting to control the general populace. And it's scary stuff. And yes. What's the difference between Mexican, why is Mexican Spanish different than Spanish Spanish? That's a good question.
Is it the same Spanish throughout South America, or do you think that changes from kind of region to region?
Well, this is just a pure biological fact.
Yeah.
Just how people work, regardless of all this other stuff that's going on. Words and people change. As people spread out, accents change a little bit. Like, there's a Sydney accent and a Melbourne accent. I'm sure there are theories on why.
I think something's to do with the environment. I think anthropology studied it. Like, it's something to do with the immediate physical environment.
No, that's what they want. No, that's the official explanation. I'm saying I'm sure that there are other people like me that have studied this, like studied it properly, and come up with a concept of how this connects to everything else to keep us docile. And I think it might be something along the lines of people would get suspicious if everybody talked exactly alike. You know? And if everybody talked in the same monotone voice, it would get really weird and everyone would start being suspicious. And I think that might be, that's another cog in my brain. That one, it's a smaller cog, and I probably won't use it for a very long time until I meet somebody else that comes to me with another concept, and we'll have sort of a meeting of the cogs to sort of exchange of ideas. And sometimes when I meet somebody else akin to myself, I've actually got a sort of watchmaking set, and I make cogs with them, and I assign ideas to the cogs, and I say, oh, this is this, and this is how this fits with this, and try and explain it. And each little sort of knob on the cog is a different part of the idea. Like the chemtrails is there's the words, like the words written in the sky, the planes, what they're actually made of, and all sorts of stuff like that, and that just fits together with the divots in all the other cogs. And I should be careful about what I say. It's, you know about that, right? There's all these little bugs are literally like bugs, like a bug in your home. It's there to listen to you, to make sure that you're not saying things that you shouldn't be saying. So, luckily for me, I've studied flies like this. I've dissected them, I've pinned them down, and I actually discovered this from a very young age when I was catching flies. Just when I was a kid, I thought it would be fun to catch a fly and take it apart. And I found out that it's actually circuitry inside it, so very intricate circuitry. And that's why they're like really hard on the outside, because like a computer, they're tough on the outside. And there was another cog. I'm like, oh, why is this like this? And I just sort of dismissed it for later on. And then I was revisiting that idea later, and I discovered a sort of a miniature microphone in them. And I studied all the little different bits of circuitry in them. And luckily for us, I did not discover a remote accessing, a remote signal. So a fly, a housefly like that, is it's just a recording bug. It will fly in, record, then leave, and give the data away. So we need to catch that fly and kill it before it can get away. But like windows, doors are closed, that should be fine for now. And other bugs, gnats, mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are a scary one. They do actually suck your blood, and what they do is they get in there and they suck your blood, and they do that to make sure that you've got the certain amount of chemicals in your blood that the government wants to put in there. And that's why some people don't get bitten by mosquitoes, because either they've been bitten in the past and their levels have stayed steady and they've shown no signs of rebelling, or potentially, and this is like higher up people, potentially they are known as somebody that is part of the NWO, or one of the smaller sub-factions. It's really, really interesting stuff. And like little gnats, little fruit flies and whatnot, those are just cameras. So those will come in and they will just look at you. And so when you see a gnat going around, that's why you need to make sure to cover your mouth.
What about you?
And what is it? There's another bug gets in your ear. It's mostly while you're sleeping though. That's why I sleep with earmuffs on. It's really, one, it's nice and warm, and two, it protects the brain and the ears from those bugs. I can't remember what they're called though. They're little slimy little things. And also your nose, they can get up through your nose. That's why I wear a special sleeping mask. You know those sleep apnea masks? That's a medical problem people have. I wear it so that I can protect myself from these bugs, from getting into my little orifices. You've got orifices all over your body, and it's hard to protect them all. But I'm sure. No, I don't think that the government has come that far yet. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure that they have the technology to create super microscopic bugs and whatever to get into your skin and literally get under your skin. I'm sure that they're working on it. I don't know if they have it yet. Maybe they do. Maybe we're all fucked. But hope. Hope is a really important thing. If you don't have that, you don't have anything. Rebellions are built on hope. Have you heard that expression before? It's a really, really important expression. And there's a very well-known conspiracy theorist like myself who's gone on and he's put little messages into all of his work. And he's actually a film director. And in one of his latest movies, it's a really, really big movie. That was one of the taglines in it. And that's sort of a call out to other conspiracy theorists like myself. That was just, rebellions are built on hope. Definitely didn't kill that fly. And do you know what that movie was? Do you know who that director was? It was J.J. Abrams. It was Star Wars, really. And that's why that phrase was said so much. Because saying it once, that's suspicious, you know? But because they say it over and over and over, that's a film trope that JJ had to put in so that the people that don't know would just sort of get annoyed by it and say, oh God, that stupid thing that they're saying, you know? It's really... I'm glad that we have somebody like JJ with us. He's a good person, he's got some great theories. I would very much like to meet him sometime and discuss theories like this. Like, a lot of people would like to meet him and discuss his filmmaking and what he likes to do when he's making a movie, but that's actually, it's not even his passion, that's just something he has to do. And what he really likes is the conspiracy theories and trying to pinpoint and work together and get all those gears in his head to work together. And I haven't actually seen a lot of his movies. I've seen a few of them, and some of the more popular ones where he puts in some of his messages like that. I'm sure in his smaller ones he has sort of deeply encoded messages, but I don't need to see those because I already know so much about all these conspiracies. I'm sure that there isn't anything that he knows that I don't, but that's why I'd like to meet him in person so I can explain to him what I know, and so that he knows as much as me. And if he knows maybe one or two things that I don't, he can bring those up and we can discuss those small things after he, of course, accepts everything that I've said, because I have all this proof. I don't have it with me, it's in a secure, undisclosed location, and there's a lot of it. There aren't any digital copies of anything, because at any time that you're on any sort of internet, the government can get something into your computer and just take everything. So everything is just written by candlelight with a pencil in a paper book. And it's not a paper book that I buy from the store. I make this paper myself, because the paper from the store, it's got trackers in it. And the government knows who buys all this paper and whatnot. So I need to go out. I've got a bunch of trees in my backyard that I sort of chop down, I grow up and chop down, and so that I can make my own paper and I can make my own books that I can write in. And the pencil that I use, it's not like a proper lead pencil like you would use. It's actually I burn some of the wood to create sort of graphite charcoal, and I've made my own pencil of which to write with, because the paint that they use for store-bought pencils, that leaves traces on your skins, and that can really get into there and irritate you, and that's another thing to keep you docile. And it's also the same in pens. When people put a pen in their mouth and they suck on the pen, there's a chemical in the ink that makes you, one, want to do it more, and two, make you more docile. It's all there. It's really obvious stuff. You just need to look at it. You just need to think about it. And yeah, so that's why I make all of my paper, all of my pencil, and I even make my own candle. I have a beehive outside my home that I get honey and wax from, so that I can make my candle and put the wick in it and have my own light at night so that I can work and write down all these theories. And it's really come in handy for me because I've got all these stacks and stacks of homemade, home-written books that are just filled with all these ideas that I can't quite keep in my head because I'm just a person. I have limited space in here, but out in the world I've practically unlimited space. And a lot of people would say to me, oh yeah, just go digital. I can't go digital. I can't even, to go digital I would have to learn how to make a computer by myself, because every computer, every little digital device has got some little microchip in it that's connected to the government that will take all of your information away. And I don't want my information getting away, because if they do get their hands on it, then they will find me and they will stop me from spreading my ideas and creating these concepts and discovering what they're doing and trying to put a stop to it. And I'm getting really worked up here because this is really important to me. It's my entire life's work that's at home. Not at home, it's in an undisclosed location. It's nowhere. It's guarded. It is in a safe, very secure location. I have not made it locked. It's not locked, but it is safe. It is. I can't say anything more about it because that would give clues as to where. You ever been to a barber shop? They're actually they talk a lot in there. They try and get you to relax and talk about what you're doing, and a lot of people share a lot of secrets when they go to a barber shop. And I have a lot of secrets, so I don't go to barber shops very often. That's why my hair's so long. I need to grow it out because I don't have many other options. I could cut it myself, but that I think would look more suspicious than if I did. If I did cut it myself, that would look more suspicious than growing it out like I am. So the barbers, they want you to go there so that you tell them your secrets, so that they know what's on the minds of the collective populace, and they will report back to sort of the head of the barbers, who then reports up and up and up and up to. And if it's important, so mostly it's just a name drivel, but occasionally somebody will say something and somebody will get in a little bit of trouble for it. And I'm generally a quiet guy. I don't talk a lot, and that's why when I go to the barber shop, I don't say, oh yeah, I'll be here for a while, do my hair perfectly up. I just say, just trim. Trim, I'll look forward, just let me do me. And they do that, and they try to talk to me, and I just talk about what I had for breakfast. I'll say, yeah, I slept in until 9 o'clock, then I watched some videos, then I slept another half hour, then I went out and I had two little tubs of yogurt, and another tub of sort of flip yogurt. There's lime yogurt that had cookies and crumble and white chocolate in it, and that was good. And that's the story I will tell, because that's just inane drivel, and that will make them think that I'm just a regular person who doesn't know anything. But I'm not. I'm not a regular person. I don't not know anything. I know a lot of things. I'm sure I don't know everything. But I know a lot. I know a lot that they don't want me to. it's really scary what they do to people that know things that they don't want them to know. And it's really, really awful stuff. Like I mentioned before, the medieval torture stuff that they do, and well, that they used to do, and that was when humans were really violent people. But these people up at the top, they don't have this fluoride in the water to keep them docile. So they are violent people. So they will do all of those medieval torture things that they used to do. They will dice people, they will behead people, they will scalp people, pull their hairs out, pull their fingernails off. What's worse though, I think, is the brainwashing that they do. They'll take somebody away and keep them away. They'll say, oh yeah, he went to rehab. He was addicted to this. These illegal drugs are only illegal because they are mind opening, and they help people to see what the government doesn't want them to see. And people be on these drugs so much and be seeing so much that the government will see them and take them away and take them to rehab to brainwash them and get them off these drugs and set them straight. And that's why a lot of rehab clinics are based on organised religion, so that they can replace this one concept that, oh, no, you don't like drugs, you like Jesus. You like this concept of this imaginary God. Oh, it's so good for you. You just believe in this. You don't believe in this silly conspiracy theory nonsense. You believe in this man in the sky who will take care of you and who will support you so that you don't have to believe in this conspiracy theory. But there isn't a man in the sky. Well, there is a man in the sky, but he's not God. He wants to be God. He is actually the guy at the top of the NWO. He has control over everything, and I don't know what to do about it at the moment. We need to start small. This guy, people have theorized that he is an immortal from the early days of man. He theorized that he's an alien. People have theorized that he is just the king, just got there via blood relation. There are some theories where he's a robot, that AI was created a long, long time ago, and it's taken over, and it's forced these people to do everything. And yes, hello. And luckily for us, we have things like dogs. Dogs can keep us safe. And yes, dogs like this will keep us safe because these are just basic animals, and from birth they are easy to train. And this one I got from birth, it's completely trained. It wasn't just from birth. Like, if you get a dog from birth in the pan, if you haven't seen it born, it already has all of its chips and all of its shots to make it report back to the government, and to have these cameras in it, and so you can't get away with anything, and so it can't be there to protect you. But this one, I've got it, and it will keep me, it will stay here, and it will keep me safe, and it will protect me, because that's what I trained it to do. It's actually one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. That's why I'm definitely a dog person, because I trust this one so much. And if I see another dog, it's just, I'm so used to this one that I just have to go to any others and say hi. it's really comforting having any sort of dog. Some people have cats. I don't trust cats. Cats are assholes. And like, while they sort of are the same, they can protect you, you can confide in them, they aren't as loving. Well, some people say they are as loving, but they're not really as obedient as a dog can be. Like, a dog can be a perfect companion. You can train it to do whatever you want. But a cat will just sort of be there. And you can kind of train a cat, and you can confide in it, but not as well as a dog. A cat will just generally do whatever it wants to do, and not much else. Occasionally, it can protect you from an intruder, but yeah, dog's much better. What else is there? Some people get fish.
Cut.